moms, welcome back to Mom Madness Semi-1, the March Madness show where we talk about some of the things maddening about motherhood besides all of the things. And the topics for Semi-1 are mom shaming and stay-at-home mom independence. And for the semis, our rules are as follows. We will have 3 minutes to defend or discuss our topics, and then we will come together to talk about them together, obviously. And our discussion this time is actually comments that we've received from you guys and from moms that we've had conversations with since the games 1 through 4 came out. And again, pink is for Melinda, teal is for Angel, and we are going to start with our coin toss. Mike, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, Angel gets to call it in the air. Tails.
It is tails.
All right, Angel goes first. Okay. So, mom shaming. I'm going to read from my notes for the ones that we got feedback from. So as just a quick recap, mom shaming begins when you're pregnant. So some of those things that we had heard about in regards to pregnancy were like you're gaining too much or too little weight, or too little weight. You need to eat less salt or you're going to get preeclampsia. Not you may, you will. And then of course, along those lines, you also get things about like what you should or shouldn't eat. You're drinking coffee, aren't you pregnant? Like, yeah, you're allowed to have coffee when you're pregnant. The only people that get to decide that anyway are you and your doctor. So, then some of the other ones were, you aren't going to use a passy. Yeah, we'll see. That one's fun. You're holding your baby too much, which I believe we've talked about this before, but the short version of that is that is not true. Babies need touch physically, emotionally, mentally to develop like they're supposed to develop. So hush. You shouldn't let him or her play with that. So this is something that I have personally experienced with because I get told all the time that I shouldn't let my kid do things. He does them anyway, but that's other people's opinions. He climbs on stuff that's very dangerous and scary, and I'm right there. I do everything that I can to protect him, but essentially there's this constant need for people to tell you that these toys, like if you let your kid play with like your phone or a charger that's not plugged in, it's like it's the end of the world, and it's really not. So let's see. Why would you ever opt to have a C-section? So this can go one of two ways. One being that you've never had a baby before and that's just what you want to do. And then even a follow-up to that is just because you had a C-section last time doesn't mean you have to this time. So when it comes to these types of things, that's a little bit harder because those I feel like are things that people really want to push. Why would you want a C-section? It's like, why don't you want to breastfeed? It's like, why don't you know how to match your socks with your shoes? I don't know what to tell you. But I think that those are important because when it comes to things that have to do with your body and how you're going to take care of your kid, whether you breastfeed or not, whether you have a C-section or not, those are the things that you have to decide for yourself, and you have to decide with the care from your provider, whoever you have that's helping you prepare to bring this baby into the world. And then even to go as far as a doctor making a comment, make sure you save room for the holidays. So that's a jab at a weight gain. And the backstory for that one was that it was during a visit where it was the first weight gain. And that wasn't a very professional way to say that, and is definitely a form of mom shaming. So that's all I have for that one. All right. And the next one is stay-at-home mom independence. All right. So this one is, we hit on a lot of things last time we talked about it.
but I also have my notes here. One of the biggest things that we got was feedback about how dads are able to do whatever they want, basically. Because specifically one of them is, my husband can just hop in the truck and go. I have to either find a sitter or take my baby with her toys. I have to find a binky. I have to find a cup. I have to get pull-ups, wipes, snacks. The list goes on and on and on. And I'm really jealous of him just jumping up and going to the store. And that is a lot of what stay-at-home moms feel, is they're like, looking through several different comments here, it's, I can't just go do something. If I need something, I have to wait for somebody to get home, or if I need to go into work earlier, I need to stay, not into work, but if you need to go do something, your husband has to go do something. Like, you have to rely on other people to be there or not be there, so you can get done what you need to get done. Like, there is not being able to just do it, like going out and doing something, just going out for a girls' night. One of the things is I miss being able to just go have coffee with my girlfriends, because you have to wait for a sitter, or you have to wait for somebody to come home so that you can be able to do that. I personally had shipped deliveries today because we needed to get some things, but I needed them then. So, and my husband was at work, and I had Oliver and Aria today. So, ship delivered to the apartment today because we couldn't just jump in the car and go. And if you're in a one vehicle household, like, that's another thing. I know I'm not the only one who has a one vehicle household. So if your spouse or whomever has taken the car that day, you really can't do anything because you don't have a vehicle to just be able to take your baby. And it's definitely one of those things that's a lot of it, is having to rely on other people, babysitters, spouses, whomever, to give you time to be able to go do what you need to do or want to do, because otherwise you don't always have the ability and lose your independence. So,
I think it's interesting because some of the things, I don't know that I noticed these parallels before, but some of the things that stay-at-home moms feel, I feel part-time. Mm-hmm. So, like, even though you weren't talking about work, but, like, I can't, well, especially when Rick and I are working opposite schedules, like, I feel like that a lot. Like, I know there are some moms, and you're actually more like this than I am too, but they take their kid everywhere, you're fine taking her. Yeah. I can't stand it. I hate having to worry about all of those, like, I can never, I guess it kind of goes back to just being able to only focus on the baby, but, like, mm-hmm. if I go anywhere with Oliver, it is like, I have to plan it like 5 days ahead of time. I can't just, I need to go to the store. It's like, well, let's see, if Rick is home and he naps, I should be able to go and get back before he wakes up. Which is kind of ridiculous, actually, because it doesn't matter if I'm here when he wakes up because his daddy's here. But it's just one of those things, like, some of it is this weird thing that other people put on us, but then sometimes it's things we put on ourselves. It's sure. Like, I put it on myself that I won't take him out and just go do things. Like, I had to take him to the vinyl store one day, and I thought it was going to be the end of the world, and it was totally fine. Yeah. And it's like, but I will never do it again unless I absolutely have to. So it's just interesting. I feel like there are actually parallels of this concept of independence between being a stay-at-home mom and then also being, like, a working mom.
Yeah, and for me personally, like, I have had a lot of freedom to be able to do things with Aria, more when she was really little. Right. That luggage phase?
Oh, where you just...
It was a great phase. Yeah. So we did do a lot.
Yeah.
I was awake, so we would get up and we could just put our carrier in the car, and we would take Mike to the MARTA, and he would go to work, and we had the car all day. But that's not really the case anymore.
Yeah.
Sometimes he has to stay later Sometimes he has to go in earlier. So most days it just makes more sense for him to drive himself to the train. I mean, we still, and when Oliver's over, we definitely don't have the car when Oliver is there. So when he is there, we're there. And it's me with 2 babies.
She does a great job.
And I mean, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad we didn't have twins the first time. But I mean, the other side of that is like the moms who truly just, they're not able to. They have multiple children of differing ages. That is much harder. There are definitely people who have said it's much harder when you have the kids of the different ages, because you have your 3-year-old doesn't want to go, gives you a hard time.
Yeah.
Or your infant is so brand new, you're not comfortable taking it out yet.
Yeah.
Or you're in these different stages of, maybe one of them goes to preschool, but that only gives you a defined amount of time. At daycare is different. Daycare, you can have the entire day, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're doing preschool, you are limited to this 2-hour block or 3-hour block of time that they are in school. And so that's a lot of your independence goes away with that as well. Like, my sister went through that with all 3 of her children, and having different times, different numbers of days that they went to preschool. And that is so limiting, and definitely takes away some of that independence of being able to, now all 3 of them are in elementary school, and so she has the school day, and that's different than when they went at different days and times. And man,
that's a lot.
It is a lot. And like, mom shaming, there's so much with the mom shaming.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, like, it's funny because, you know, the pacifier thing was a big deal for us because I didn't want to use one at all. True. I've already talked about that before. I won't go through all that again. But this week has been exceptionally hard for me because we got rid of the pacifier, and I'm not handling it very well because that's like our last baby thing, and he's not a baby anymore, and he's not, and that's okay. But like, I've told people, like a couple people have asked me, like people at work asked me about how the baby's doing, and I've brought that up this week, and they're always like, oh, good, or they'll be like, oh, he still had the pacifier. Just stop. Like, just, when you go to say things like that, just hush, because you know it doesn't matter the rest of your fucking sentence. Because it's
still shaming.
It is, and it's one of those things, it's like, I was getting ready to open up about being honest about how I was feeling as a mom with a baby that's no longer a baby, and you just completely cut me off from even being able to express that openly with you because you were ready to mom shame me over a pacifier.
Yep.
Which, by the way, the pediatrician gave me until 3. And it's like, you know, it's just one of those things. It's interesting because it's like, until I literally just said that this very second, I had not thought about what that actually does to discourage building a village with other moms, because when they say things like that to you, you don't want to share with them anymore. I'm not going to tell you about anything that has to do with my kid if every time I do, some piece of shit judgmental comment comes out of your mouth.
It's like how I stopped telling people that I was okay after my C-section.
Yeah.
That I elected to have, by the way, because our options were to go naturally or have a C-section, because Pitocin and being induced was something that my doctor and I agreed was not the right path for me. So there was definitely some judgment about that, about the fact that we scheduled it. And that's none of anybody's business. Like, that was what was the best decision for me and my baby at the time, because I did have preeclampsia, and it was not from eating salt. Thank you very much. Okay? It is just a condition that happens.
We have no control over it.
We have no control over it. It can happen to the healthiest of people, which I was very healthy when I was pregnant. You can't tell that now, but I was. And it is maddening, that's for sure. Mom shaming and not having a sense of independence. It is definitely maddening, which is why we need your help again. Same as last time in the first 4 games. We need to know which one of these topics is more maddening. Even if you're not a stay-at-home mom and you feel like mom's not having that sense of independence, or even as a working mom, if you feel like you don't have a sense of independence, let us know. You know, it doesn't have to directly affect your life. It could be something you just feel very passionately about. We've gotten comments from men about how mom shaming is bullshit and should stop. You know, so comment down below. Let us know what you think about these topics. Give us some more examples. Which means you have to subscribe to our channel. And hit the bell icon so you get notified when semi number 2 goes up. And always on social media, if you don't want to comment here on this video, look us up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at Momestly Me. Send us a private message if you'd like to. You know, we are open to everything. And we're really glad that we're able to do this, and we're really enjoying this format too.
Yeah, for sure. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's a fun way to cover heavy.
It is a fun way to cover heavy, and it gives you an opportunity to interact on a different in a different way with us.
For sure.
Which we also like. So we will see you in the next game. Bye, moms.